blessed good morning to the church. It's good to be in the house of the Lord once again. Welcome to our Youth Sunday, and we're glad to be in God's presence. Leading you in the choral section this morning is our sister Zaria, and I invite her to come to you at this time and give her your full support. Sister Zaria.
Good morning to the church. Please stand as we say together. Psalms 103. Here beginneth. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Who forgiveth all thy iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction, who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth Thank you for your prayers. In love and season. Our next song will be 218 Holy Books, Amazing Grace. And after that, we will have Sister Crystal read a lesson which is given from St. Matthew chapter 5, verses
chapter 5, reading from verse 1 to 16, here beginning. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when men shall revile you, and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out, and to be trodden on the foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Here endeth the word of God.
Our prayer song will be Numbers 73 verse. And can it be? I will ask Brother Ronaldo Mario to pray after the song.
Thank We all couldn't have been here if it weren't for you. And those who haven't even made it yet, I pray you may hear their footsteps. Dear Lord, even our song service leader, we pray you may bless her. And that this morning's worship will be a blessing unto you. Dear Lord, there are those who are sick that can't make it. I pray, even those who are here that aren't feeling well, I pray for them. Our sister Wade, oh Lord, I pray for her, well, you may touch her with her healing hands. Even whether she's here or not, she's not feeling the best. Even others, oh Lord. Dear Lord, we pray you may forgive us for our sins. Even throughout the whole week, before we came here, we have done wrong before you. That's why we ask you to forgive us. Even so, Lord, we pray that this morning's worship be a blessing unto you, that you may give our all. And we may learn, and at the end of this service, we may take in and learn what was given unto us. In Jesus' name, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
You may be seated. Thank you, Brother Mario.
never a baby like Jesus.
Blessed good morning to the church. The notices are as follows. This evening, we meet back for the other half of our youth service. That will be today, this evening at 6:30. The other half of our youth service this evening. On Tuesday, we'll be continuing our general meeting, the financial aspect. That will be Tuesday at 7 p.m. general meeting. On Wednesday, will be our Bible lesson and midweek service. Bible study, and midweek service on Wednesday at 7:15. On Thursday will be senior choir practice, and that begins at 7:30 p.m. Thursday is senior choir practice at 7:30 p.m. On Friday will be youth service at 7:30. Friday the 17th, youth service at 7:30. On Sunday, 9 a.m. will be our Sunday school, and our 10 a.m. will be our morning to worship. And in the evening at 6:30 p.m. will be our evening's worship. Those are the immediate notices. Do we have anyone celebrating a birthday or anniversary? Yes. We have one, our brother Johan, is celebrating. Friday at 6 p.m. practice for the children. Thank you. I turn you back over to the hands of our Sister Zara.
I will now turn it over to the youth president, Sister Crystal.
Thank you, Sister Zaria. And this was her first thing you did, so what can you do? And trust me, you will see them more of them. So please encourage them as you see them throughout their use, Sundays and beyond. Sister Zaria did a great job. Give her another hand. We want to welcome all of you to our Youth Sunday service. And for those who are with us for the first time, I invite you to, outside of our special group, I invite the others to stand at this time if you are visiting with us for the first time. Yes, in the back. Give us your name. Kevin Mascot. Right, visiting with Sister Melissa. Welcome you to Shalem. Glad to have you with us this morning. As I told you, we have a visiting group with us this morning, and they are, let me make sure I pronounce it right, Casey Smushu and the Chief Master Instructor and Founder is Lionel King. And I'm going to invite him to come to you at this time and give you his address. He will be telling you about his group and so on. So welcome him at this time. And we have some familiar faces in that group. And I'm sure he'll be mentioning some of them to you as he comes.
Pleasant good morning, church. I want to first thank Sister Crystal Barton and the pastor, I don't want to call his name wrong. Right, thanks for having me. And the board and management of this church for allowing me to come this morning and to give an address on behalf of KC's mission. It is indeed fitting that every year we try to get everybody together and give God thanks. Because without Him, we cannot achieve anything. I don't care what age you want in life, you have to put God first. Religion is one thing, but God is another thing altogether. So we must put God first because of our religion is any. The only thing I would say concerning my introduction, other than that, I'm a 6th-degree black belt. And people would want to know if they work their family and anybody hands out there qualified to do whatever job it is. So I am indeed a 6th-degree black belt. And we have completed 22 years in existence and have begun our 23rd year this year. And KC Kushu continues to strive throughout the years, even in difficult times. And sometimes it did seem near impossible to continue. But by faith, commitment, these are the hallmarks of success. You must have these qualities in order to succeed in whatever you do. Through personal sacrifice, the love of ours, the growth of our children, and the building of this nation, we have stood the test, and gradually the organization is growing. Philippians chapter 4 verses 13 has taught us that we can do all things through Christ, who strengthens and empowers us. And I must stress at this time that that is the prayer for our group. We always say that before and after. training sessions. Unless we form the habit of going to the Bible in bright times, in bright moments when it's good, as well as when you're in trouble, because now we cannot fully respond to its consolations because we lack the equilibrium between light and darkness. So you need to go to the Bible when things are good and when they're bad. You know? And this is a quote from Helen Keller, not necessarily my word, but I do embrace it. The Honorable Prime Minister Mia Amor Monkley has named this year the Gathering 2020. And she has placed emphasis on getting back to the church. We can do very little right except we get back to the church. So we embrace that. We at KC Wushu are on board, echoing similar sentiments. The raising of our families, improving family life, restoring morals, and reducing crime and violence. And most of all, multiplying our faith in Christ, which is very, very important. A little bit of faith is multiplied when you place it in Jesus. Remember that. Nobody else. Your wife, your husband, no. Put it in God, and you will see it multiplied and it will grow. It is indeed a national calling, and I strongly believe we all who are gathered here has embraced the concept for the betterment of this little rock we call home. We shall get back to the church. We at KC Wushu are contributing to this effort. We conduct classes at the Wesley Hall Infant School and the Lawrence T. Gale Primary School. Two different locations, but one organization. With one goal, and that is to provide guidance, direction, and discipline to each and every member, each and every student who enters our door. This is very critical. Because we can have a situation where you encourage children to come in, family to come in, be sure kicking a punch and that's it. No, we're not going to be doing that. We have one goal because we want to direct your children in the right direction and try to keep the discipline and improve on it. We implore and invite each and every one present to continue to exercise. Keep your minds and bodies razor sharp. It is important. Exercise, you eat lots of everything, but if you don't exercise, somewhere down the line you will have problems. And the human body is of such that as we grow older, the body will become diseased at some point. In other words, you might find a person at 50, really strong and fighter and doing well. You find somebody at 35 doing so well. But the fact is that person who is 50, if they probably reach 80 or 90, they will have problems. So the body is something that will deteriorate, if I should use that word. It becomes disease, so you need to eat well, keep God as focus, and live the best life you can. For you younger ones, listen to this one. For you younger ones, well, young at heart too. Take it to a deeper level, character another level. Exercise does help with your powers of concentration and improve your ability to do well in your chosen areas of study. Think of exercise as an act of worship. The power to glorify God by moving your body. We know that we have dance ministry when people will do the dances and I like that dance, right? Now that in itself is worshiping God. So I am saying, look at martial arts as a way of glorifying and praising God. I'm not going to encourage anyone to come to martial arts for the purpose of wanting to fight. No, we don't, and my kids will tell you, don't entertain that. Yes, it helps build your self-esteem, your discipline, but remember, try to use it as a way of worship and to glorify God. I'm pretty certain that if you go through the Bible, you will find aspects of this where you can use your body to glorify God. Obviously in a good way, yes? God or Creator. Give him thanks and praise in everything you do. Timothy chapter 4 verses 8, and it reads, for physical training is of some value, but godliness, spiritual training, has value in everything and in every way. For it holds the promise for both the present life and the life to come. And I believe in this. Believe it or not, this is our motto, and we say it each and every time we train, because it is so. I don't want to take up much of your time, but this is what I want to leave for you. While we are zealously performing the duties of good citizens and soldiers, we certainly ought not to be inattentive to the higher duties of religion, to the distinguished characters of patriarch. It should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. So whatever you do in life, if you decide you're going to be the best carpenter, you can defend your country, remember that loyalty still belongs to God. I want to thank each and every one of you. May God richly bless each and every one of you and have a wonderful day. But before we depart from the stage, I'm going to have Arlo on stage to sing Away in a Manger. Now, bear with us because we did not have the opportunity to rehearse together. So you might find a few discards. But I think the effort and the thought is what we want to embrace this morning. So I now ask Amber to come forward, who's our resident songbird. And trust me, when you all hear her, Amber, you will try to find out who she is, who don't know her. And she will come and make us song a lot later. Amber, come forward, followed by the next more senior person will be the backup. The cocaine with my side. And all the rest, please come forward in uniform. Thank you very much. Come. Who cannot sing or hug among the others, I can sing.
Church, as you've been told, we'll be singing at the Red Mission Party. Hope you enjoy. Hi, my name is Amber. I was a part of the group, in case you were sure, for a long time. I stopped at a third degree brown belt, just before black belt. Yeah, I love this group, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
So we wouldn't be back any longer. We will raise the number. Amber will go ahead. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3.
Away in the manger, no grave for them. The reins upon Jesus, laid down his sweet head. The stars in the bright sky looked down where he lay.
Thank you very much, sir, for having us and have a wonderful day. We will stay with you until the end.
We thank the group from KC's Mushu. Maybe I'll think about coming out later. Okay, earlier when we were giving our greetings, one body was missing, but I would like our sister Rebecca to stand at this time as the church welcomes you back. She was overseas for a long time, but she's here in Barbados with us, so we want to recognize you. And Sister Rebecca, when she left us, her last name was Jones, but she's now Massicott. So Kevin is her husband. And her son, their son. So, we welcome you to Shalem. And thank you for joining us this morning in worship. Okay, we're going to have the word of God coming to you at this time. Please listen attentively as our brother Winston Barker comes and break the bread of life this morning to you.
Good morning to the church. That's not bad. Good morning to the church. There we go. It's much better. It is indeed a privilege and a blessing to be in the house of the Lord once again. This morning for a short time I'm going to be chatting with you about deliverance will come. Now, we've gone through our service and we've actually sung this song. But the entire theme has been, at the end of the day, God has our back. And no matter what is occurring, we know that our help comes from above. Now, if you follow any army or any battle or any war, the morale is different based on what the soldiers know. It's very simple. If you're in a war against thousands of people and you are a mere 100 men, usually the guys lose hope and they fall pretty quickly. But if you let them know that reinforcements are on their way, you will find yourself in one heated battle. Because as far as they're concerned, it means that they just have to hold on until the rest gets here. And essentially that is our Christianity. We can go through life, at the end of the day, whatever happens to us, whatever is befalling us, we can understand that God is at the end of it and reinforcements are always on the way. Now, it is very interesting because I always say that I like to play a lot of games, a lot of video games. And in video games, there's something called cheats. And all a cheat is basically, it basically how the game is meant to be played, it's not played. So whether or not you are, it makes you invulnerable whereas you weren't supposed to be, either it makes the game much easier, whatever it does, it makes the game simpler. And most persons obviously get annoyed if people are using cheats against them. And that is obvious. So I said it must be pretty annoying and awful to be an enemy of the child of God. Because at the end of the day, we have already won. We have already, at the end of the day, taken home the prize. We are still, it's amazing that you are in a game and you have already won it. All you're basically doing is sitting down and waiting for the eventuality to happen because God cannot lose. Ever. Anytime he steps on the battlefield, he will be victorious. anytime he comes to do anything, he will win. So it's kind of interesting that if you know the outcome, you're going to have a different attitude. If you know what's eventually going to happen, it's not going to be any problem. It's like watching a show, and you sit down and it's not your show, and you're in episode 8 and you realize the character is there. And then you decide, well, this show looks pretty good, I want to watch it on my own. So you go back, you start over the show, and in episode 2 you see this person looks like they're about to be killed or die. But you know that in episode 8 they were still alive, so you know that nothing can happen. And you don't freak out as much because as far as you're concerned, you know, look, it's impossible for a person to die in episode 2 and they was watching them in episode 8. Because you have that ability, you have that foreknowledge, you have that in your mind, say, I know what's going to happen. And we have that as well. It's called the Bible. The Bible will tell you exactly what's going to happen. It has detailed from the beginning up until the end. So whereas we may be not in a position to know and understand what's going to happen tomorrow, we have somebody who does. And if I tell people, it's all about track record. We have friends, and we have family, and we have loved ones. And they're close to us because at the end of the day, you can depend on them. And usually you have a best friend and you say, well, you know what, that person is my day one. Meaning the person's been always there. And at the end of the day, you trust that person because of the person's track record. But let's examine God's track record. Satan came up against him, he lost. Satan got cast out. Any person who came up against him lost. His record is perfect. So why do we not put our trust in him? It's simple. In games they have characters and we call them OP, meaning overpowered. Means that if you use this character, you more than likely have an unfair advantage. We're walking through life with an unfair advantage, having God by our side. At the end of the day, we have the advantage through life. Because no matter what we do, God is above all. And if he is above all, and we are below him, then there is nothing that we have to fear. Daniel walked into the lion's den and played with the mane of a 800-pound lion. You know, outside was a little chilly, so he cuddled up between the three of them. And he had a good time. And the king passed by and said, Daniel, still in here? Yes, I'm still in here. Outside a little nippy, so I here cuddle up my buddies in here. And it's funny because it said that they literally starved them before. It's like, they're going to make sure that whatever passes through, that those lions are going to make sure that they're going to tear to bits. And here is Daniel, walking around, chilling out, having a good time. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They lit the furnace 7 times hotter than it usually is. That's just wicked. I mean, think about it. It can kill you regardless, normally. So now you can decide, just out of wickedness, I can stoke it 7 times hotter, just because. And what happened? Man, they could have had a game of dominoes in there. When they looked down, they said, what? People in there walking about, chilling and having fun? Now, I just cook a lot, and I know that the stove is hot. And I know that a furnace, a very large furnace, enough to hold 3 men, must have been extremely hot. But here they are, walking around, having a good time. And the very persons who threw them in died. It was so hot that you didn't even have to go in it. You just have to get near it. That's how difficult that the guy was being. He was like, you know what? I can make sure this so hot that even my guys can die. He was trying to make sure that he killing these boys. But he has no surety because he did not have God. So whereas he thought he had it locked, whereas he thought he had the game rigged, whereas he thought that he was in charge, he had no power. And those 3 boys walked around that furnace, and he said when they came out, they didn't even smell of smoke. The clothes didn't even smell of smoke. They didn't even have a slight char. God not only took care of them, he took care of the hairs in their head and the fibers of their clothes. That is how complete God protects us and takes care of us. That's how complete God wraps us in his arms. But yet, why are we then so afraid? What is there to be afraid of? It says, it keeps describing the devil as a lion, a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, walking to and fro in the earth, just looking for something, looking for someone to pick off. But the devil has come against God many times. And he will come against him many more times. But it will always be clear. The result will always be the same. God will prevail. And it's interesting because the devil is the biggest, baddest thing around. But yet he had to, sneak in and say, you know what, I want to touch Job. Let me get Job a little bit. It's like a child coming and begging. It's like, you got something in the fridge. It's Christmas gone. You got a little thing in the fridge, probably a couple of sweets. Ain't check out, mommy, I can get you sweetie in the bottom drawer. Daddy can get you the little chocolate that they got. God, come and beg. Satan came before God and said, you know what, you got a servant out there, Job, but I can show you that he ain't as faithful, but the problem is you got security too tight. You got this man locked up too tight. I can't touch it. I just easy little security, a little bit, I could get in. He literally has to come and beg to lay a finger on us. And yet we're afraid of him. Why? He has no power over us. So, the sea started to get rough and they started to get very worried. And Jesus was sleeping in the ship. I said, wait, you can let us die? What's going on here? I could just but boss, we about to die. And Jesus looked at him like, you knew? Is he first there? No. He looked at the waves and he went and he calmed them with his words. I feel he probably went back to sleep. Because he couldn't believe that is what you're all out there freaking out about. You've seen me done so many things. You know who I am. And you think that I am going to let the boat capsize? So no matter how rough the seas, no matter how howling the wind, when Jesus is in the vessel, as the daycare children love to say, you can smile at the storm. Because what can it do us? Nothing. Because he is in control of everything this world has to offer. So the boss at work that gave you licks, to the husband or wife that give you problems, to the friend that talking your name, friend in quotations, he is in control. So I want to get to the point where a snake could bite me and I could shake it off and say, you know what, God tell me, give me X XYZ, so this can't be nothing to me. It says it was a viper, and the viper is extremely poisonous. Could take down several men with a few drops. He got a full bite. He looked at that like, well, God didn't tell me they ain't here today, so. And he shook it off. No fear. Because he believed in a higher power. And it's an interesting thing because as Christians, we should be looking up. All we should be doing is train our eyes upwards. And you know what? That bothers our enemies, but there's a reason why. Because our enemies are in front of us. Our enemies are behind us. They're all around us. And we're even looking at them. We're not studying them. As far as we're concerned, you could be in front of me, you could be behind me, you could be to the left, you could be to the right, but my eyes are up. Because my help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. My strength comes from him. My deliverance comes from him. It says, weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. And no matter how you look at the sun, no matter what angle you're looking at the sun, you will always look up. And if joy comes in the morning, it means we need to be looking up. And it troubles them because how is a man in front of you with a gun to your face and you're not even paying him any mind? A man threatening you and your life and you're not even paying him any mind because as far as you're concerned, God has my back. And when we are going to get to that point, when are we going to get to that stage where, as far as we're concerned, no matter what happens, we will keep our eyes on Christ. Now, I follow, especially in the Bible, I love these stories about the wars and what's not, because if you really look into it, many times the people of God had less people, the smaller army. 500 people will go against 5,000 people and wipe them out. You will take a few hundred and wipe out thousands. Because it is not about the battle. You are in the battle, but the battle is not yours, the battle is the Lord's. So sometimes the Christian army is one of the strangest armies. Because you are frightened of the enemy and you're thinking about what the enemy is doing and somebody's saying, no, I'm having a bowl of cereal. That's the way you are not preparing. The enemy is at our gates. And so that's not my business. Because the Lord will fight on behalf of you. So whereas you may be on the battlefield, that battle does not belong to you. That's why vengeance doesn't belong to you. Everything belongs to God. And if we can understand that, if we can really understand that, whom shall we fear? Shall we fear man who can only touch our body? No. In any battle, especially if you follow the story of Troy, Troy was seen as an impregnable fortress. Couldn't approach it by sea. It was very difficult to come by land. The soldiers were well trained. The army was brutal. And they couldn't get in. But if you follow history, Troy fell. There's a reason for that. Troy literally opened its doors and invited the enemy. The only way, and everybody thought so, every single person who came to attack says Troy cannot be defeated. But how was Troy defeated? It is very simple. If the enemy cannot get you from within the purview of your security, he will invite you outside. Because when you're outside, you have no walls. You have nothing to protect you. And when you are out of protection, you are vulnerable, and that is when you fall. And that's the devil's oldest trick. Because as he had to go to Job, he went to God for Job and say, I want to touch him. I want to pour out my negativity on him. I want to do bad things to him. Please. Pretty sure he probably had to say please. God was not there, maybe. And he is there begging to touch him. And you know what? He's basically saying, take him outside of your protection. Bring him outside that I can, have my way. And it's the same thing he's doing with us. He's trying to pry and entice and get us away from the arms of God. Only so that he can finally lay a finger on us. Because once we are in the arms of God, even the devil can't touch us. Lions can't eat us. Fire can't burn us. Snakes can't kill us. Waves can't drown us. The devil can't touch us. So all I invite you to do is understand the power in which you hold. Understand that which you are under. You are under the protection of the divine and the almighty God, Jesus Christ. And no matter where you go, it says he will be with you even unto the end of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Winston, for bringing the word of God to us this morning. And remember, we must hold fast to God's word and keep trusting in him. The final number this morning will be number 37 from the youth books. Hold my comrades, see the signal waving in the sky. Reinforcements now appearing. Victory is nigh. And I'll ask our sister Zaria to come back and lead us in this song. Pastor to come, Pastor Carl Barker, and give his greetings to the church and dismiss us. One thing, but this in our congregation we have 2 former daycare members, and one of them was recently highlighted as Student of the Year at St. Michael's School, and we want to congratulate Caitlin Clark. Very well done, Caitlin. Give her wonderful things from young and beyond. So it's great to pass that.
Thank you, Sister Crystal. It's strange to be welcoming you at the end of the service, but I have enjoyed being with the youth, and even though I go to the barber occasionally, can't get rid of all the grit. So it is difficult for me to blend in with the youth as I used to. Welcome, nevertheless, to all of you and to our friends from the KC, whatever. Thanks for coming and sharing with us this morning. And when you were speaking, I was wondering what you could do with a 65-year-old man. But anyhow, we'll talk about that after. Thanks for sharing. And young people, I hope you remember that this is only part 1. And the older ones too, that this is only part 1, but we're meeting here for what I think will be our first evening service for the year, this evening at 6:30. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your blessings. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together once again to worship you in a high note of praise. Lord, we recognize that we were made by you and fashioned by you. You took the dust from the ground and you formed us. And Lord, we recognize that we need you in every aspect of our lives. And that is why we come to ask of you, to praise you, and to worship with you. I pray, Heavenly Father, that we leave this place, that you will take us away with your blessings. Help us, Lord, to remember the lessons we have learned here, and to know, oh God, that there is no situation that is beyond you. And therefore we can cast all our cares upon you, because you care for us. Take us away now, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. May the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, the sweet fellowship and communion of the Holy Spirit, rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen. Tuesday, not at 7:30, at 8 o'clock. It is at 7